What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 2 of Hobby Talk, a cardboard podcast. If you haven't seen episode 1, go check it out. I will leave a card to it right. It'll probably be above Ricky's head. It'll be in that corner over there. But Ricky, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Murph. Today's my 28th birthday. That feels wild to say, but it's,
Happy birthday,
it's a
my
good
friend.
good way to start recording this video. Thank you.
That's what
Appreciate
I'm
it.
talking about. Let's see, my birthday's on a Tuesday this year. I don't know what week it
Yeah.
falls on, if it falls on a recording week, but I don't know, maybe we can record on a Tuesday. Now, I'm not coming to the shop that day. No. But yes, very exciting that your birthday is today. Any big plans tonight, or today to do anything?
No, I celebrated the last couple days. Tonight, probably just gonna chill, stay
That's what's
in.
up.
Yeah, it's been
Watch
a
the
it's
Red
been a good
Sox
few
lose to
days.
Texas.
Uh yeah,
All right.
they
What?
go ahead. I don't want to
Oh
talk
no,
about
I
them
was
right
gonna
now.
say you can stay home, watch the Red Sox lose to the Rangers. Actually, I don't even think that. I think they did lose. I went to bed and they were losing. I don't know if they lost, but neither here nor there. Who cares? I did allude to the fact that we're recording every other week, and I didn't want to say anything, or we didn't want to say anything at the end of episode 1 because we wasn't sure yet what our schedule is going to look like. However, moving forward, guys, we will be doing every other week. So this episode's coming out on September 21st. Of course, the next one would come out in October, and I don't have October's calendar. So the next one would be releasing on October 5th, the 19th, and so on and so on, just to give you a heads up as we record moving forward. But with the pleasantries out of the way, Ricky, the camera's here, you're here, so it's a little weird for me. With the pleasantries out of the way, after 2 weeks of the NFL season, 2 full weeks, and obviously when this episode releases, week 3 will be starting. Do you have an initial reaction to anything hobby related, market related? It could be a specific player. Just give me like a brief takeaway from 2 full weeks in the regular season for the NFL.
Let's see. The non-rookie quarterbacks that people were, buying, hyping up in the season, a couple of them have not shaped up yet. Got Burrow,
Agreed.
who's 0-2. Got Justin Fields, the potential MVP, who's 0-2.
Struggling, and
What?
he's not your guy, but your area's guy, being
I
in
don't know.
Chicago.
I'm rooting for the 0 team. But yeah, no, it's Justin Fields was such a pump and dump. It's crazy.
I love the concept that you just kind of brought up, pump and dump, and I think a lot of people don't realize that they do it, but they do it because, again, whether it's at a show, shop, eBay, whatever, people buy cards 99.9% of the time with an intention to sell the card. Again, unless it's a PC, that's probably the 0.1%, which again, we kind of discussed about a lot of more people are flippers than collectors, in today's day and age. We talked about that last episode, but people will come to the shop all the time looking to buy this, looking to buy that. And it's like, what's your real intention? This is like an out of
Mm-hmm.
149 generic insert, PSA 9 of some guy, some quarterback. And I know you're a Patriots fan, and again, being in Rhode Island, Patriots fan. So why are you buying this card? Like again, that's just like people don't know that they're doing it, but they're actually doing it. But I agree with you. A lot of these quarterbacks, 0-2, Burrow, Fields, obviously CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, they're all 0-2. But like, are we overreacting to like a Burrow and a Fields being 0-2 though? I mean, Bengals started 0-2 last year. We know that the Bears are going to be pretty much bottom of the barrel team this year, but can Fields still make his play relevant to be a long-term hobby player, if that makes sense, Ricky?
It depends what you define as long term, because I don't.
Like season,
After
like season.
this season, this season is literally make or break for him for the first 2 games. Watching them, because if they end up in the bottom of the with the bottom record again, they're drafting another quarterback. I don't think Fields is going to be the answer to the Bears' problem.
So as I mentioned last episode, and I even made a little reel short about it, is these rookie quarterbacks need 3 years. For those 2021 guys, year 3 is coming up. Mac Jones, Fields, Wilson, Herbert, not Herbert, sorry, Lawrence and Lance. Those are the big 3, really. And T-Law, I'd probably say, is going to be a staple in Jacksonville for the next 5 to 10 years. I'm gonna say. I don't think they're gonna move on from him. Zach Wilson wouldn't even be the starter right now if it wasn't a freak injury to Aaron Rodgers. Mac Jones, who knows? Justin Fields, I think I agree. I think Mac Jones is in that same boat. I mean, you got to give me something this year. And I hate to say that because I'm a Mac Jones guy, Patriots, obviously Alabama. But like the season needs to be average. And I think we need to see some kind of level of play from Mac Jones, Justin Fields, since we're talking about him, in order for us to not want to move on from you, because this quarterback class coming up is going to be really good. And I know we're months away from the draft and we're not even going to talk about the draft, but this is still on the mind of GMs and these teams, because their decisions will significantly impact what we do in the hobby. If Zach Wilson gets cut right now, no one's buying his cards, but he's playing and people have his cards. And there is a marginal market right now for him because he didn't look terrible in against the Bills. He looked kind of bad against the Cowboys. But is 0-2? Do we hit the panic button if a quarterback we're investing in is 0-2? That's my next question.
I'd say don't do it, because like I said, Mac Jones, Patriots, they're 0-2, but he didn't look bad. I think Mac Jones outplayed Jalen Hurts the first game. I
Agreed.
thought he looked better than Jalen Hurts.
I think Mac Jones looked fantastic week 1. I think he looked really good week 2 even. I mean, I know that they're falling short, and I hate to be that fan that says, oh, if this went our way, if that went our way, or, we're better than our record says. And like, I'm not going to sit here and be that fan, but I think we can sit here and say that about Mac Jones. Can we sit here and say that about CJ Stroud, Justin Fields? Can we sit there and say that about Joe Burrow? Burrow probably, but these other guys, yeah. I don't know. And I really feel like with the 17 game schedule, I was actually listening to this on the radio. Previously, 16 game schedule, 0-2 was almost like a death sentence. That third game was make or break for your season. But where we're 17 games, you have an extra game, tiebreakers are a little bit more valuable. You can kind of squeeze out 9 and 8 and still, make the playoffs. But I think week 3 is going to be massive. I think the Bengals might have a 4th week just because they're so talented. But teams that have playoff aspirations, again, Patriots, Bears, I think, had a really strong case to maybe get a wild card spot this year. I think that 3rd week is going to be very crucial, not only for teams in playoff perspectives, but also just the hobby in general. If Justin Fields doesn't look good week 3, or Mac Jones doesn't look good week 3, what's that?
If Justin Fields doesn't look good, people are going to panic sell.
Because people have a lot invested in a guy like this. He is super talented, super athletic, super skilled, and you can't do it by yourself. You put him on a Cincinnati Bengals team or a Philadelphia Eagles team. I think it's a different situation. However, we have to work with what we have, and he's on the Bears, whose roster has some potential, but like they just can't get anything going. So I think no, we don't panic yet. But I think by the next time we record in 2 weeks, I think we'll have a bigger sample size, and we'll know like, hey, Bears are 2-2. Right? Maybe we overreacted last episode, or maybe they're 0-4, and it's like we didn't react enough to it. So like, it's still too early to tell.
The Bears got the Chiefs this week.
0-3. Actually, well, I'm not sold on I'm not sold on the Chiefs. Actually, they looked bad against Detroit. They clearly didn't play up to their potential against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Defense was fine, but the offense shaky. So any given Sunday, I truly believe in that. I mean, any given
Yeah, I
Sunday.
mean, Chiefs are minus 12.5 favorites. So if you're feeling
That's
confident in the boy Justin Fields,
listen.
that money
If you
line
have them in,
that money line could be looking pretty good.
it's probably looking juicy. If you have them in fantasy, if you have them, sports cards of him, if you have a bettor's mentality, why not? Why not? Really double, triple down on Justin Fields. Why not? So I feel like we kind of talked about a few negative things. I don't want to say negative, but like some downers. Give me something good. What's a positive or maybe something you didn't expect in a good way to come to light from the first 2 weeks of the regular season?
The Falcons are looking good. They're 2-0.
So people this past offseason all summer, Howell and Ritter. Howell Ritter.
Mhm.
Howell Ritter. Purdy was a question mark. No one cared about Kenny Pickett. People still don't. But Ritter looked really good first 2 weeks. First full season starting. Sam Howell, same thing. But we kind of expected, well, at least hoped, because they played just a smidge last year. And it's coming to fruition. I mean, they're both 2-0. Is it sustainable? Who knows? Small sample size. But it's what we have to talk about today. And it's something to at least pick our brains on is if you had to pick one, Ritter or Howell, where are you going and why? Because they're both arguably really good investments right now because I still think they're fairly cheap and they could easily fall off a cliff. So there's a lot of risk, but potentially a lot of reward.
I had to pick one or the other. I kind of like Howell.
Interesting. I can't wait to hear why.
He kind of this past week against the Broncos, he led a very good comeback.
Agreed.
That
He
was a
looks good.
great showing. That was a
It
great
was.
showing of what he can do.
It really was. And
Yeah.
I think that's something to not underestimate because that Denver defense has a lot of good players on it. High altitude, obviously road game, a lot of factors there. But like, is that the reason why you're not choosing Ritter, or is there a reason why you're not choosing Ritter and you're choosing Howell?
I don't think that's the reason I'm not choosing Ritter more than the reason I'm choosing Howell. Like
Mm-hmm.
Ritter hasn't done anything to disprove, people who are hyping him up or whatever. Like he's 2-0. He's been doing well. But I think I just like Howell a little more right now.
So I'm glad we disagree on this because I'm going to pick Ritter for the moment, only because, well, actually, two reasons. I think he has more talent on the offensive side. Not that Howell doesn't. He's got McLaurin, Bijan's playing well. Obviously, Antonio Gibson's still there. But I just think Bijan, superstar running back at Texas, you can still see it in the NFL as he, first two games. Kyle Pitts, still all the potential and talent in the world. We just haven't seen it yet. It's not clicking yet. Drake London, obviously. But the number one thing and why I would lean Ritter more than Howell is because his division. Yes, the NFC South has 3 2-0 teams, and so doesn't the NFC East. However, when you look at the NFC East, are the Commanders going to finish with a better record than the Cowboys, who are also 2-0? Probably not. Are they going to finish with a better record than the Eagles, who are also 2-0? Probably not. Again, we're only 2 weeks in, so there's a lot of time. But when I look at the Falcons, who are 2-0, and the Buccaneers, who are 2-0, and then what's the other team in there? The Saints. Saints are 2-0. I don't think any of those other 2-0 teams are sustainable in comparison to like the Cowboys or the Eagles. So just right off the bat, the Commanders are going to be playing for a wild card spot, whereas the Falcons might be able to squeak out the division, get a home game. It's a snowball effect from there. So I just like their road to success easier. I don't know what the schedule looks like at all. Falcons could have an insanely hard schedule for all I know, but just again, a 2-week sample size is what I'm looking at here. And that's why I'm kind of picking Ritter over Howell. But I love them both. I've said I've loved them both. I know we both, are big, fans of both of them, but Am I thinking too much out of the box here? Am I taking it too far and overthinking it?
No, I think that's pretty valid because that division, for the most part, is pretty weak. So
And we said that all off season. I mean, any of those four teams could win that division, really, and they're gonna
hey,
get
he
a
has
home
a good
playoff
shot.
game.
He has a good shot to win it now.
Exactly. And which is it's just a surprise that, I mean, first of all, surprised that two or three 2-0 teams from the NFC South. I figured that'd just be a bloodbath of just 6-11 teams, but you know what? Neither here nor there. But all right. So before we go any further, Ricky, I kind of just want to talk about Magic Mind for a quick second, just because they've been sending me some bottles. What I really love about Magic Mind, guys, is it replaces my caffeine choice of drink. And by drinking Magic Mind now, not only am I getting the caffeine boost to feel energized, but it's also allowing me to be focused. Now, I've been drinking this throughout the first part of today's episode, and I do feel laser focused that I've already mentioned. I've done, some YouTube spots with them, and I'm not lying. I mean, first of all, I would never make this video. I would never make this segment if I was lying. So guys, take my word for it. If you know who I am, I think Ricky could back me up. I don't fabricate anything. I don't lie about anything. I tell you how it is. I'm a straight shooter. And Magic Minds really actually changed the way that I get energized, that I get refocused. It's got nutrients, it's got vitamins, it's got a bunch of really good stuff. And I know Ricky's recording this 10 in the morning. I'm recording this at 11 in the morning. We're both probably really tired. And I don't know what he's doing to kind of help stay awake, if he's going all natural or whatever. But I'm using Magic Mind, so I just feel like I have a little extra boost. And I think having a boost early in the morning, whether, again, recording podcasts, at card shows, which I think this will be a huge player for me moving forward as we enter show season with a bunch of different shows coming up here in the area. I'm going to be turning to Magic Mind just because of all the amazing things that I've said about it. Small bottle, so I don't have to carry this huge can around with me. And again, it just boosts my energy. It lets me stress less, which, being an entrepreneur, being a small business, is absolutely critical, is to be able to stress less. Mrs. Murph is always on me to try to find ways to de-stress. I do love Magic Mind for what it does for me here at the shop, because I have one just about every morning at the shop. And again, stress less, do more. I am feeling energized. And as you guys can see, I've been drinking this during the podcast. Again, Magic Mind, you will change your life, I do believe, for the better if you just try it. And you'll be able to try it if you go to magicmind.com/James Murph. Use my code JMurph20 for 20% off your order and up to 56% off your subscription over the next 10 days if you use JMurph20. So guys, check them out, Magic Mind. Give it a shot. I think you will absolutely enjoy it. And I do think you'll really use Magic Mind moving forward, just like I have. I've completely replaced any other caffeinated beverages with Magic Mind as my new go-to drink moving forward. So thank you, Magic Mind, for sponsoring today's episode. But let's get back into the episode, Ricky. So we talked about football. And I do think our football conversation was very in-depth. And there's, of course, a million different ways that we could continue talking about football. But I think baseball is a good conversation. I know you kind of brought it up, when we were chatting a little bit yesterday. What do we talk about baseball right now? Because football's in full swing. People's attention is pretty much on football right now. But baseball's still going on. The playoffs are coming up. There's been injuries. Rookies have been called up. Rookies have been playing better. Give me like a minute or so synopsis of the baseball market right now, potentially moving forward. Just give me your raw thoughts about the baseball area of the hobby.
Well, Otani has taken a huge step right now. I have a couple of his cards that I'm bag holding at this point. Yeah, I think people like J Rod, he's finally coming around, proving all the naysayers wrong, because they need him to be an absolute superstar 162 games out of the season. And I'm glad he's
Amen
finally
to that.
shutting some people up who said that he was done, even though he's like, what, 22 years old or something like that?
Sophomore slump happens all the time.
Like, and now they're saying the same thing about Ellie De La Cruz, who's been in the league for like 2 minutes. Like, I just don't understand the rush to say wow, the rush to just call people bad. Like
Yeah,
Ellie De La
it's
Cruz, he's a monster. He's huge. He's fat. He hits bombs. He throws 100 miles an hour as an infielder. Like he's going to be a star. And the
takes
fact
time.
that people are already jumping his cards because he's in a slump is just insane to me.
Now, I don't mean to cut you off, but I do want to insert a quick question. Do you think people are dumping his cards because of his slump, because he sucks, because they potentially paid a high price for said cards in the height of his market? Obviously, it's fallen down. But do you think like, oh my God, my $2,000 card is only worth $1,000 now? Let me try to sell it to recoup instead of bracing the storm and holding and like waiting for it to tick back up.
Well, situations like that is when you need to distinguish yourself as either an investor or a flipper. I
Mm-hmm.
know we've talked about this before, but if you're buying that two
There you
thousand
go.
dollar Ellie De La Cruz card, are you buying it to invest or are you buying it to flip? If you're
That's
buying it to invest, it can go up in the next couple of years if the Reds make the playoffs and all that good stuff. But if you're buying it to flip, you have to get rid of that in 2 seconds.
mm-hmm.
When
Overnight.
when the cards are at their peak, that's just about as high as it can go.
And I think what oftentimes people get confused about is they don't understand or they don't see the peak. Like we can't really sit here and point to a specific time where Ellie's peak was. I mean, if we look at charts and market, market sales of his cars, we could probably find a peak. But like, just sitting here talking, mid August was his peak or mid July, whatever his peak was, right? But people will buy the cards thinking that they're not buying into the peak. They're thinking that they're buying into the incline of the market where it's still going to continuously rise. Again, if you get into it early enough, correct. Yes, people that bought his cards during the off season, during the early part of the season before he got called up, and then even early on when he did get called up before the slump. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. But players, young players specifically, I mean, even veterans go through slumps all the time. It's a long, long season. I mean, I love how you brought up the whole J Rod thing. I'll continuously say this story. Nobody wanted J Rod cards before the start of last season. Blows up, home run derby, crazy run. Everybody wants J Rod cards all off season, even into the start of the season. Then the 22-year-old, however old he is, struggles. Nobody wants his cards anymore. Oh my God, J Rod. Oh my God, his market's collapsing. Nobody wants his cards. He sucks. He's not who he thought he was. Then he blows up again in the home run derby. And then he goes on this absolute crazy tear where he's, 30-30 guy and
Mm-hmm.
leading the Mariners to another postseason berth. And now everybody wants his cards again. And Ellie, nobody wanted his cards all offseason. He comes up, he hits a massive home run, he throws very fast, he runs very fast, and now everybody
So
wants his
cycle,
cards. Yeah, hit for the cycle even. So it's like baseball's a long, and now he's struggling. He has one home run in the past month. I mean, that's pretty much where he got his name to fame, was hitting these massive home runs and pimping them out. And the Reds are probably going to make the playoff. I mean, I don't know. That wild card race is just crazy. So I mean, I could say
yeah,
one day that they will and one day that they're not, but whatever. They're in the
they're a
mix.
game out of the wild card picture.
There we go. So they're on the verge. They're on the hunt. They could not. But like it's really tough to get behind a young player like that because let's say Ellie never had a slump this year. Oh, he's going crazy. He's going to win the rookie of the year, let's say. But then let's say he starts next season on a slump. Nobody going to want his cards then, just like with J Rod. Baseball's a long season. A player could hit 4 home runs today, which has happened, a handful of times. And I guarantee you that it does nothing for that player's market unless it's like a J Rod or unless it's like a Ellie De La Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
You could say Bo Bichette, Vlad Guerrero Jr. I'm just trying to think of guys we've invested in before. Jazz Chisholm. These guys could hit 4 home. By the way, he's hit 2 grand slams back to back nights. Like earlier last week. No one's talking about it. I think that's pretty cool. Royce Lewis hitting 4 grand slams in like 20
20,
games.
20 games.
Crazy. No one's talking about it. But a player could hit 4 home runs, which again has happened a handful of times in the history of the game. And I don't think it would do anything for the market. A player could strike out 5 times in a game, which I don't know how many times that's happened in a 9 inning game. And I bet that would still do absolutely nothing for that player's market. You can't look at
But
it one
Georgia
game at a
said
time. You
one.
got to look at it as the whole season. And with baseball having 162 games, it's a very tough sport to watch for casual people compared to football. People just overreact very, very fast to things. And I think people overreacted to the height and rise of Ellie. And now they're reacting very fast and hard to the decline or the decline that we're currently seeing right now. So baseball's tough. Prospecting's tough. You need patience. That's why I sit here and say this all the time. You need patience. You need patience to invest in baseball because a player's going to look good for a little bit. They're going to look bad. It's a long sport. I guarantee you 20 years from now, if Julio's on the same track record that he's currently on, he's probably a Hall of Famer. But people don't want to wait for 20 years. They want right now. They want to buy it for 100 and flip it for 200. You mentioned it last time, you buy it for X, you sell it for Y, you want that quick gratification. It's just you can't do that with baseball. You can do it with
Well,
football because there's only 17 games and it's on one every Sunday. And like they play well on Sunday, all right, flip it on Monday. If they play bad, maybe buy and hold on Monday. It's just football's quicker. What are you gonna
yeah.
say?
Well, it's like even now for baseball, people don't want. I just don't understand it because people don't want Hall of Fame. They want potential Hall of Fame. So it's like people would rather buy into these prospects who would be lucky to have a career of like Mookie Betts.
Can I ask you this real quick? And I've done this example with football, but I want to do this example with baseball because I think it's comparatively speaking. Miguel Cabrera, he's about to retire at the end of the season. Sure bet Hall of Famer, 500 home runs, 3,100 hits. And I don't know about you, but I don't know a single person looking for Miguel Cabrera cards. People last year were looking for Albert Pujols cards when he was going on the verge of 700 home runs and such like that. But
Mm-hmm.
again, is anybody talking about Albert Pujols a year later? Nope. So Miguel Cabrera, first ballot Hall of Famer, all the accolades in the world you could want, all the awards you could want, World Series title even to boot in 2003. People forget about that with the Marlins,
Yeah.
Florida Marlins. If you could pick any of these young players right now, pick Julio, pick Ellie, pick Anthony Volpe, Jason Dominguez, pick anybody. If they have a 80% career, 75% career that Miguel Cabrera has, they're probably a Hall of Famer still. But their cards are going to be worth thousands of dollars compared to Miguel Cabrera's. And it makes absolutely no sense. And the football example that I alluded to is Joe Montana. Nobody cares about Joe Montana. Best quarterback of all time for a very long time until Brady, went on his second dynasty run. And I think it's safe to say that Montana is still probably the second best quarterback. Four-time Super Bowl champion, four for four in the Super Bowl. But if a Herbert, if a Burrow, if trying to think of another guy, Jalen Hurts, for instance, has half the career that he has, they're probably regarded as one of the best ever. They're Hall of Famers, and their cards are going to be selling for thousands, some of them millions. Why? It's just I understand the market's different, and these guys aren't on TV. Well, Miguel Cabrera still is, but it's just like the potential and the hype. Like, where do we truly expect a Justin Herbert in an Ellie De La Cruz market to really, really, really go? Is Ellie going to hit 4,000 hits? Well, he's still not the best ever because Pete Rose has 4,200 or whatever. Justin Herbert's probably not going to win 8 Super Bowls. Like, where's the cutoff point? Like, sorry, I just had to go on a quick little rant there. But like,
No, I get
oh,
it.
oh,
It's frustrating because I don't understand it either. But I think guys like that, like Montana, even maybe because, like you said, he's still active. But it's more so these younger like flippers, investors, whatever. They don't have an attachment to Joe Montana. or even Miguel Cabrera.
That's a good point. That's a very good
So it's
point.
like a lot of the market for Joe Montana, other like older baseball players who aren't in the league anymore, something like that. And people question, oh, they're in the Hall of Fame. Why aren't they hard so much? It's because their market is driven by nostalgia, basically.
Hmm.
So like kids right now aren't seeing what Joe Montana did. They're seeing what Herbert is doing. They're seeing what Burrow is doing. So
I love
that's
that.
that's why they want to buy into these young people. Like even though I'm explaining this right now, it still doesn't necessarily make sense to me. But I think that's why the Hall of Fame people are priced this way, and the potential superstars are priced double, triple, whatever they are of them.
And I think, and I agree with everything that you said there. I tell people all the time, it's the market is, what are you doing for me right now? Joe Montana's not
Exactly.
doing anything for us right now. Miguel Cabrera, well, yeah, I mean, he's not Miguel, he's not the Miguel Cabrera that we remember,
Yeah.
the Triple Crown winner, the MVP winner, but he's still doing something for me right now. But being on the Tigers, and I guess he's not making a playoff run, I think maybe that would help him, making a playoff run his last year. I think that'd be kind of cool and that would help. But Herbert's on every Sunday, Ellie De La Cruz is on every night, and people can tune in and watch. They could literally, it's my phone, but I could watch my Ellie card go up or go down by watching the game right now on the TV. I can watch my Herbert, my Burrow card go up or down by watching them on the TV. It's just, I think and collectors will collect the Hall of Famers because they're sure bet. I mean, tons of older people will come in that, they don't understand why all these young guys have all this value compared to these Hall of Famers. I mean, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, any of these guys could flame out this year. I mean, knock on wood that they don't, but like they could completely flame out this year and they're never the same player again. It just could, like, a Joe Montana rookie card being from I forget what year, 81. Don't quote me on that. Or 79. I don't know. Whatever year his rookie year was, where the market, there was rookie cards everywhere. Actually, now I gotta look it up because this is gonna piss me off. Joe Montana rookie year. Okay, it is 1979. So it's before the junk wax, but besides the point, Jerry Rice, best wide receiver of all time. People are buying Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase cards through the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they're on track to have a similar career. But again, if they have half the career that Jerry Rice has, they're Hall of Famers. They're best ever. And Jerry Rice's rookie season was, I believe, 84, 85, right before the junk wax, but still kind of saturated. And his rookie cards are less than $100. It's just puzzling to me. But it's something that you need to wrap your head around and understand it without truly understanding it. Like, you just almost
Yeah.
have to, like, accept the fact
Go
that,
with the flow.
like, Bryce Young cards right now are going to be more expensive than Joe Montana cards. He's 0-2. As much as I love him, as much as the potential he has, that's just the nature that we live in. Caleb Williams will probably be the number one overall pick in the draft in April. His cards out of the gate are probably going to be worth more than Joe Montana cards. We just have to accept that. And I mean, if you're a Joe Montana fan and collector, you probably love that because that means his cards are cheap. But if you're trying to live in a utopic reality, it makes no sense. But I, diverging from football, I want to stay on track with baseball. I know I kind of blended apples and oranges. Talk to me about Shohei Ohtani because he was the talk of the town, every town pretty much, the country, this entire season. First $500 million player, first $600 million player. Um, what is this injury? I know you were kind of talking about how you have some cards of him. What is this injury going to do for his market, do you think? Short term, a couple months, long term, let's say, this time next year.
Well, right now he's dealing with two separate injuries: his oblique and his UCL. What? How old is he now? Like 30, 30, 31,
I
something like that.
will get back. I think he's younger. He's like 29.
But
29, yeah.
29. So he's still. It's crazy to think like he's just entering his prime.
Really?
I think so. That's the prime years.
So like, I mean, I look at like prime. I mean, because players are so good, so young nowadays. Like 24, I think is a prime years for a player. Just because like you see Soto get called up, he's like 20. You see J Rod 21, Ellie 21. It's just like those are young. I'm not going to call those prime years, but like if Shohei was just a pitcher at 29, teams ain't giving him a 10-year contract. They're going to probably give him like a 4 or 5 year contract because once you get over 30, it's tough sledding. Tough. I mean, running backs. I mean, again, I know I'm not going to cross sports. Um, Outfielders, once they turn 30, like that Mookie Betts contract, like that might bite the Dodgers in the ass in a few years. Aaron Judge signed that big deal at 30. Again, that could bite them in the ass in a couple of years. Bryce Harper's already at first base. I mean, granted, he had a Tommy John, but like he's already at first base and he's like 32. So, but continue, carry on.
But I still think Otani gets a huge, insane contract. Like, will it be the first 500 million, or is there someone else? No, it can't be.
Uh,
It can't be anyone else.
Highest
500
MLB contract.
because
Um,
everyone on the Braves is locked up for dirt cheap, so
Mike Trout's
that takes
still
Acuna out.
$426.5 million for 12
Oh,
years.
he'll
He'll blow that away.
yeah, he'll blow that away. He's getting at least 550, I think. Because that's the thing
So
with this market now, to get Otani the pitcher would be 35 to 40 million a year. To get Otani the hitter would be another 30 million a year if they were separate plays.
yeah.
So if you can get both of those in one person, there's no reason why he shouldn't be making at least 55 a year.
So like, but do you have concerns that he's more than likely approaching a second Tommy John surgery? Like as like a GM, as an owner, you have to be weary about that. And again, if he was just a pitcher, I'm sorry, if he was just a hitter, pay him $40 million. Who cares? If he was without injury, I would completely agree. You know, the oblique is fine, but the elbow, he might miss all of next season if he gets the surgery again. So it's like you sign him for 10 years and you're not even going to get him for 10 years. Now, if he was to become, or if he was a closer, or let's say if he was to become a closer, you know, I think that's a different story. But like this injury thing really throws a wrench into it because I still think he gets paid. I still think he gets a long-term contract. But like it has to be on the back of these teams' minds because all right, we signed him for 10 years for 600 million, whatever. Are we really getting Shohei Ohtani? You know, what is he going to look like at 35, 36? Is that elbow going to be gone again? Is he going to be in the bullpen? Is he not even going to pitch? Like, I think as fascinating as the two-way player is, it just brings so many question marks because if you were just getting the hitter, all right, you hit 4 times a game, that's all we have to worry about. If you're just getting a pitcher, you pitch every 5 days, and that's all we have to worry about. I just think there's so much. I mean, could the oblique thing be from pitching all season? Obviously, the elbow is. It's will he even be the same pitcher if he gets Tommy John? If he doesn't get Tommy John, will he need it? You know, down the road where he's already had it before. It's it's going to be really, and his market's going to be really, really interesting because I think what the teams do will dictate what the hobby does, if that
I,
makes sense.
no, it makes sense. What was I going to say?
It's just it's really, really puzzling because all these teams spent all this money this past offseason.
Yeah.
Whether it was the Mets, the Padres, the Rangers, obviously, and the Rangers are fighting for a playoff spot, but like, well, how far will they go? I mean, neither here nor there. But like the Mets and the Padres, probably the two biggest teams that spent a lot of money. They're not even going to be. They're not even sniffing the playoffs. I believe they're mathematically eliminated from even wild card contention. It's like so it brings the question: is spending money the way to go in MLB? You look at the Rays, you look at the Orioles, spending nothing with young players and just some gritty, cheap veterans. You look
Mm-hmm.
at teams like the um, the West. Why can't I think of the Diamondbacks and well, the Dodgers spend money, but they were struggling for a long time. But you look at a team like the Diamondbacks, young team, some gritty veterans, and they're fighting for a spot. The Reds, a bunch of young players fighting for a spot. So it's like I think teams in general, not including Ohtani and not including Ohtani, I guess in the same breath, will think twice about spending a lot of money. Look at the Yankees, spent a ton of money, and they're probably not going to make the playoffs. Well, they're not going to, but like, is that the way to go though? And when you have that piece of it, plus the Ohtani with injuries and such like that, it's going to be very stressful for a GM or for whoever's going to end up making it, whatever owner maybe makes that decision.
So here's the thing about Otani. If you when you sign whatever team signs him, they're getting the pitcher, the hitter, but they're also getting him in his market. Like that man
Fans,
is
the fans,
worldwide
yeah,
famous. Even if you
agreed.
just have him on your roster, granted the Angels have him on his roster and they probably don't fill up the stadium, but whatever team signs him next year will more than likely fill the stadium if they're even decent. Just to
If they're
see
like
Otani.
Angels, yeah, they'll fill the stadium.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like if you're putting all this money into him, he's still going to be a great player post surgery. I
Mm-hmm.
truly believe that. But you're also just getting him. Like he is, for lack of a better word, a god to some people.
So like, I think as much as we're flippers and investors in the hot well people I shouldn't say us, I think the teams whichever team may sign him is investing in not only Otani, but they're investing in their team because they're gonna, you know, not to be like racist or anything, but a lot of those fans are going to be Japanese players to fill those seats because of Otani, and I think he probably stays on the
Mm-hmm.
West Coast. I mean, I know there's like New York, Boston, the Mets. I don't think he goes over there just because being on the West Coast, a flight from Tokyo, from Japan is a lot closer to California than it is to New York or Boston. So I think we're instead of the whole. I mean, if a team just offers him something really stupid like 700 million, which I don't think so, then he goes there. But like if every team offers him the same contract, he's going to pick a team on the West Coast. Personal opinion. And they're investing, and yeah, they're paying a lot of money with some question marks, maybe whether that's age, injury, elbow, performance, whatever. But again, they're going to be filling a lot of seats. They're going to be selling a lot of jerseys. But like, we don't have to make that decision as hobbyists, as collectors. We don't have to make that decision about how much to give him. We just have to buy his cards. We just have to sell his cards.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just. Ooh, Brad Marchand named Bruins captain. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
All right. Anyways, but
Quick.
yeah.
What team do you think's what team signs Otani?
So I already narrowed it down to a West Coast team. Um, Obviously, it's not the Angels, even though they'll make an attempt. I don't think it'll be the Padres because they have so much money invested already. Whether it's Machado, Bogarts, I think they might. I think they will re-sign Soto. Um, but I like the Mariners. I think they're a sneaky play. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I know people saying the Giants, which I could see, but I don't think it's the Dodgers. I think they just have too much money tied up elsewhere too. I'm gonna go Mariners. I don't know. Mariners are at least good. I think Otani's has to look at that. Like, all right, I want to play in the playoffs. Giants, yeah, they're in and out. I know they're battling, but like, I guess the Mariners are too. I'm gonna go Mariners. Final answer, Mariners. Especially, well,
That's
oh shit,
that's
crap. The
also my
DH thing.
answer.
The DH thing doesn't matter. Oh, crap. I was gonna say, oh, they're an American League team, the DH. But well, funny. I guess side thing. When he first was coming over, I'm shocked he picked the Angels because at the time, National League didn't have the DH, so like the Angels had to like makeshift like rule changes or whatever for him to pitch and then DH and whatever. Whereas in the National League at the time, you could just have Otani on the bump and you could just have him hitting wherever you want because in the National League, pitchers hit until a couple of years ago. So
Yeah.
whatever, doesn't matter now.
Otani played outfield when he
First
didn't he
came over,
play
yeah, he
outfield
was
when
like
he first
a
got here?
right
Yeah,
fielder or
yeah.
whatever. So like, I
That's
don't know.
crazy.
There's like, I mean, that's something to consider. Does he drop the pitching thing because of the elbow, and does he play the outfield? Because if you're just signing a designated hitter for $500 million, I think any and every team's out of their mind. But if you get him to play the outfield every once in a while, again, maybe be like a relief pitcher, or I don't know. I'm happy I don't have to make this decision. But
I,
as a
I think
collector, go ahead.
I think any team that signs him will take better care of him than the Angels.
I just it blows my mind that the Angels didn't trade him. I know you weren't going to get full value if you traded him like a year ago or in the offseason, like the Red Sox should have done with Bogart. So if you were not going to re-sign him, just trade him at that point. But like at the deadline, I mean, the Orioles got something from Machado, who ended up walking from the
Mm-hmm.
Dodgers the year he got traded. Get something for him. Meanwhile, they sell off other pieces just to DFA Lucas Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez, and now they don't even play for him after a month. Whatever. I'm going on a
Oh,
tangent.
so bad, so bad.
Oh my god. What was I thinking? Or what was I saying?
Or were they?
What were they? Who effing knows? Again, I'm glad I'm not making these decisions, especially decisions for the Angels, L.A. Angels, Anaheim Angels, California, whatever. It doesn't matter. But like, does this injury? Because I'm hearing a lot of quietness around here on the Otani front. Is it because of the injuries? Because they suck? Do we have to wait for him to sign a contract? Do we have to wait for him to play again to see if he's healthy? If you're buying Otani cards, how do you approach it? Because me personally, I don't know. There's just way too many question marks. Way too many.
Otani, he'll be fine. Him and his market will be fine.
Do I buy strong? Do I like pay close to market? Do I pay 90%? Do I wait and
Right
hold?
now,
Within the
right now is
next
when you buy.
within the next couple months.
I'm saying right now is when you should buy Otani.
Right now.
When no
Okay.
one's focusing on him right now, everyone's focused on the playoff race. His cards are down a significant amount right now, just because no one's talking about him, whatever. But he
Mm-hmm.
will be MVP.
Think
He
so.
will, yes, he will get his contract. So once that time of the year comes around, the hype's going to be building up again. Oh, can't wait to see him in this lineup. What's he going to do here? Whatever. So if you're going to buy Otani, understanding it's not a quick flip, then now is the time to get it.
But I want to buy today and sell today. I want to make that money today. You can't do it with
Frustrating.
baseball as easy as you can with like a basketball or football, just because there's too many games. The season's too long. Again, with basketball, I hate crossing sports, but you kind of have to in this hobby. With basketball, guy could drop 60. I mean, people were selling Donovan Mitchell cards when he dropped 71 like crazy. Now his market's quiet. Yeah, I mean, football, a quarterback could throw 5, 6 touchdowns. Flip it, like Sam Howell. I was telling and Redder, buy all offseason. Their market's too low. If they just play an inkling of good football, and if they go like 1-1, 2-0, or they look good, sell then, because the market's gonna be high. Sell then. Like again, it's a much quicker, turnaround time with other sports, pretty much any other sport besides literally baseball. But we have a couple minutes left. Do we have, before we wrap it up, because I got to open in a few minutes, do we have any, we said this last time, outgoing thoughts as we head into the next couple weeks before episode 3? Between now and Thursday, should I be on the lookout for something? Should we be buying, selling, keeping an eye on something? Just give me your outgoing take.
Well, as always, by James Wood, but he was
That
just
better
named
be a
Player of the
statement
Week.
every episode. Every episode by James Wood. And
I'm gonna make it a T-shirt, but
you
exactly.
should.
Um, I think the quarterback market is getting a little spicy right now. You see Joe Burrow, who's 0-2. Couple teams that should not be 2-0 are 2-0. So is Burrow's market gonna dive? Is he gonna be the guy to buy? Screw all these other rookie quarterbacks, third-year quarterbacks, whatever. I didn't think I'd see another buying opportunity for Joe Burrow, but it might be
Here we
here.
are. Here we are.
It might be here.
I think for me, I guess I have two. I guess I'll start with football as one is The market is going to drastically change between now and the next time we record. So next time episode 3 is out, which I already said is the crap, I forget the day. It's going to be October 5th. The market's going to completely change. It'll be 4 completed weeks. We'll be entering week 5. Those 0-2 teams could be 2-2. Those 0-2 teams could be 1-3, 0-4. There's so many possibilities, and Joe Burrow could look good. He could look bad. It's just be cautious because it's still early in the season. A lot of times it's an extension of the preseason for these teams early in the year. Just be cautious. Do your research. Is a guy like Desmond Ridder or Sam Howell still a good buy? I think he was a good buy, and I think he's a great sell right now. But maybe he's still a good buy. Again, just do your own research and really just take that extra moment or two to just really weigh out your options before you make any hash decisions. Just because Patrick Mahomes beat the Jags 17-9 doesn't mean he's the best quarterback in the league right now, just because of the name. It's a great long-term investment, but again, if you're looking to either flip or looking to collect, maybe put your chips elsewhere. Danny Jones, people were talking about him as a potential play with that big contract and them making the playoffs last year. They're 1-1, but they looked bad against the Cardinals. So it's just a lot of variables that you really need to consider. And the second thing is baseball playoffs are coming up. I don't know when the first wild card game is, whatever, but superstar players, non-rookies of superstar players, insert patches, memorabilia cards, even some autos are going to be out there for fairly cheap because I bet a lot of people have been selling to fund football. And if you could buy into those cards, whether it's Mookie Betts, Acuna, 2 MVP frontrunners, it could reap rewards because those 2 teams have World Series aspirations. One of those 2 guys will probably win MVP. So baseball's I think it's a really good time to buy baseball right now before all the awards come out, before the playoffs start, before they get too deep. I mean, don't forget about baseball because Mookie Betts or Ronald Acuna Jr., Corey Seager's been going up crazy. They are superstars in their own right, and they expect to make deep runs in the playoffs. And if they do, I think, again, it could reap rewards. Whereas, if we're buying if we're buying a Justin Herbert card here in week 3, 2 weeks later, they're 1-4. What did that do for you? How good was that for you? But meanwhile, 2 weeks from now, Mookie Betts or Acuna could be MVP. And, next thing you know, you have, Mookie could be a 2-time MVP, Acuna a 1-time, a 40-40 guy. So just don't forget baseball. That's my outgoing take.
Mm-hmm.
But
couldn't have said it better.
Excellent episode again. We will catch you for episode 3 of Hobby Talk, a cardboard podcast on October 5th, 3rd. What was it? October 5th. Ricky, it was a pleasure as always. We will catch you in the next episode. But until then, see you guys.